In the spring of 1989, actually, newly inaugurated President George Bush invited my wife, Kathleen, and I to the White House for dinner upstairs in the family quarters and a movie afterward down in the presidential library. This all really happened in 1989. There was a small obstacle, a conflict. My parents were scheduled to be visiting us on the way back from their annual winter trip to Florida. Well, there was another conflict. Mom was experiencing early signs of Alzheimer's. Fortunately, a close friend of ours, Lois Romano, a reporter with contacts with the First Lady's office back then, Barbara's office, passed word to President Bush, who welcomed all four of us that night, Kathleen, me, and my surprised and thrilled parents. Well, the magic began when we arrived at the upstairs of the White House, at the very top of the stairs by the Bushes, President and First Lady Bush. The president had changed for social time with a blazer on and gray trousers. He's very clubby, that guy. He grabbed my two parents and disappeared for the longest time into the upstairs of the White House where the family lives. Well, Mrs. Bush gathered us and some other guests and took us on a tour of the family living rooms, the Lincoln bedroom, and the other works. I don't know how much later, but I was standing out on the Truman balcony. I will never forget this, overlooking the south lawn of the White House when I looked through the French doors to see three people chatting away like old pals, Dad, Mom, and the President of the United States. I remember over dinner later that evening when my dad signaled to me in language that required no words that this was the greatest night of his life. I remembered a little other note of that night. During that evening, before we all headed down for the movie, President Bush commented about the Matthews family being Democrats. Well, I said that the family was overwhelmingly and historically Republican, that I was the exception. Well, it must have been months later, several months, in fact, that I was sitting in the Roosevelt Room of the West Wing for a press briefing for my newspaper, the San Francisco Examiner, and some other Hearst papers. And a few minutes after the briefing was over, I noticed President Bush heading down the long table length to me. And when he arrived in front of me, he paused. Quote, "So has your father changed your mind about things yet?" Wow, what a mind, what a heart, what a nice gentleman. I had a hard time being tough on him after that for a while, especially when Dad asked me to be nice for what he'd done. I tried.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.